Hello, welcome back to the Barrett channel for a brand new video with myself, Ollie, and special guest. This is Aaron. Aaron in China is your YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, that's right. Long time subscriber, first time
Making a video
guest.
together. Yeah.
So thanks for joining me.
How long have you lived in Shenzhen, Aaron?
I've been here 7 years. Next year will be 8. It's hard to remember sometimes.
Right.
I think 7.
And
Might be 8.
All your time's been in Shenzhen, or?
Yeah, all the time in Shenzhen. I didn't know much about the city before I came. There was not much information.
Right.
I thought it was maybe like a tier 2 city or something.
Right.
I didn't really have an idea of what tiers meant. But since I came, and I was like, wow, this is a really nice place. Very, like, lots of nature, lots of mountains.
Yeah.
And the city itself is improved and got bigger every year.
Well, we just filmed a video for your channel because, as you're probably already aware, I'm going to be leaving China soon, and you wanted to interview me about that and ask me some questions about it. So link will be down in the description to that video. Go and check that out before or after this one.
You had some juicy answers, so
Yeah.
you better head over there and check it out.
You want to get checking those out. So, as you will be able to see from the title of this video, we're going to chat a little bit about sort of what things do we miss about living in the UK, and what will you hypothetically miss if you left, and what I will miss about China when I leave. So maybe we can start off just giving us a bit of context, similar to how we did on your video. And why did you decide to come here in the first place?
Yeah, we have relatively similar stories. I had graduated university and I was looking for postgraduate jobs. And I was working with autistic adults to pay the bills in the meantime. And for people that do work with autistic adults, all credit to them because it's a very tough job. So I was looking for something else to do. I didn't really have a proper place to stay in the UK, and I kept getting adverts for like, come teach English in China. And I was like, I know English, I can do that.
Yeah.
Sounds relatively simple. So after a while of speaking with the agent and doing the paperwork, I booked my tickets, and I came over, and I was never nervous or worried if I wouldn't like it, because you always have the option to come back, right? And then it turned out to be a really good decision. Since then, I've been able to move outside of teaching to more of my my degree-related field, and I've been able to meet great people here in the city and been able to experience a whole new different culture and other side of the world.
It takes a certain kind of person, I think, to decide to actually, one, to leave the UK, but then to come to somewhere like China. And a lot of people don't really understand this country, right, very much. You know, there's a lot of misconceptions and etc. We've been onto this topic. We've beat the dead horse with this topic on our channel for a while. What did your family and friends say to you when you decided you wanted to come here?
They were all quite supportive. I think most people in the UK are, like you said, they don't really understand the inner workings or like the day-to-day life here in China, right? We all have the idea of the history of certain events, and like we don't really know much about this place, right? Most people would have heard of Beijing and Hong Kong, maybe not even Shanghai, you know. But so they were all pretty supportive, and once I got here, they would just check in with me, know how I'm doing. But once I told them I quite like living here, they were like, okay, cool. Yeah. Unfortunately, none of them have come and visited me, which is a shame.
Because you want to show people what it's like, don't you? It's as we were saying before, it's hard to really explain what it's like unless you bring people here for them to experience it for themselves. Anyway, we'll get into the meat of the video, of the topic. So I am starting to miss certain things in England. You know, it's been 2.5 years, coming up to 3 years now since I've last been back. I'm not sure how long it's been for you.
About the same time. Yeah.
And it's very hard to leave China and come back right now, because one, you've got the 3 weeks quarantine, and then there's difficulty with visas and things like that. So it's, you know, for most people here who are working, it's not really an option to leave and come back right now until the restrictions are relaxed, right?
yeah, I've had some friends, my American friends, that have left, go back to America and come back, and they had to spend a lot of money on flight tickets, and they had to do a lot of time in quarantine. So you have to balance out that opportunity cost with
exactly.
actually the money cost as well.
So, of course, I'm starting to miss like family and friends from the UK. My dog, my sister's had a daughter who's 1 year old now, who I've not seen before. But in terms of like ways of life I'm missing from the UK, I'm definitely missing food. I mean, that's an obvious one. You're of course going to miss like the food from your country. We just mentioned this in your video, that food in England gets a pretty bad rep. It's actually like a bit of a laughing stock.
A bit of a meme, right?
It's a meme. It's a meme. People will say, "Oh, I went to England. Don't you like the food?" Nah. It's like, oh, it's a bit offensive, but I'll take it because I've heard it many times before.
Like water off a duck's back.
Yeah. But one thing that we do well is desserts, and I'm proud of that. We do good fish and chips as well.
How do you do a proud salute to your country?
So I'm
Sip
excited
a cup of tea.
I'm excited to go into the supermarkets and just shovel loads of food into the trolleys and all of that stuff. So I'm gonna, to be honest, sadly I think there's probably things I'll miss quite a lot of things like when I leave here, and probably not the typical things that people would imagine. Being brutally honest, I probably won't really miss the food here. I like northwestern food like Xinjiang and stuff like that, but in the south I don't really tend to eat that much Chinese food. But I will miss like the ease of getting around, the transport costs. So easy to get everywhere for dirt cheap. There's never an excuse not to travel somewhere. You've got like the shared bikes, you've got, everyone has their own electric bike. I'm gonna miss my electric bike.
Yeah.
I'm really gonna miss that thing.
That is a point. Like in the UK, I had a friend, I have a friend that bought a electric bike, but it's not very convenient, and like it's kind of illegal. I think there was some legality issues. But here in Shenzhen, like you go on the street, it's like India or Vietnam or something with just bikes everywhere.
I love that. It's really easy to get around. You can park them anywhere. If it's short distance within your apartment, it's really good. And then when you want to go into city, you've got the trains, and they're just really cheap and fast, and of course you've got flights, and it's just something that's nice and accessible here.
I mean, when I was in the UK, I would have to, and I wanted to take a bus, like 4 stops. It cost me like £5 or something ridiculous. It's like you get a return ticket into the city and back. It costs you like £10.
What is something else that you hypothetically would miss if you're gonna leave?
If I was to leave China, which, by the way, I'm sure that I'm not going to spend the rest of my life here. It's just right now I don't have any real desire to leave, but I can understand why people are leaving China. I totally empathize with why. If I was to leave, though, I think one of the things I would miss the most would be the convenience aspect. So using your phone to do pretty much anything, order food. They have like Uber Eats, right? But the like Waimai and the Ulama, those platforms,
which are like takeaway and like grocery takeaway and things like that for those of you watching.
Delivered to you for like 90p is like the charge,
Honestly, that really blew my mind when I first arrived, that I could like order food and get it delivered for less than just the delivery price back home.
Yeah, like your phone is basically very useful here in China, and I don't think they have that system in the UK. I mean, the one thing China does is the track and trace, right? Like you have your green health codes. When they tried to do that in the UK, they spent like £4 billion or something and couldn't do it.
Didn't work properly.
So I don't think they're quite at that level technologically to have that convenience.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I miss like the WeChat Pay and stuff. Like, you know, this is a classic one. When you're back in England, right, you'll pay for something or whatever, and then they'll say, oh, you know, it's a random amount, like £4.23, you know,
Yeah.
and it's difficult to give that amount. So they just say, oh, I'll get you a beer, and then you'll never see that in the future. And here, it's just so easy to split the bill, right? You can just get people in a group, put the amount in, split it, and it's all electronically done, and it's very easy and simple. You know?
I think they have like Venmo
Okay.
and some apps like
really?
alternative, like Apple Pay. But imagine on Facebook or Instagram, you had that option.
Yeah.
That's what WeChat gives you, right? Because everybody has WeChat. You
Right.
can't. So the thing with those alternatives in the UK is everybody has to have that app for it to work, right? But here, imagine we all have Instagram and we just split the bill through Instagram. It's like it's hard to describe WeChat to people that have never used it. Right?
No, it is. It's like you don't live in China without WeChat. It's like,
It's pretty impossible.
yeah, it absolutely is. What about some things that you might not miss about living here? Let's start with you on this one, and then I'll think of something.
Some
else.
things I won't miss about China. I mean, I covered this kind of in one of my videos, like the 5 things I hate about China. So I'll give you a very quick. It's like the spitting. I know it's trying to get better and better, but there's something about the noise of someone bringing up all that phlegm and spitting it out. Even now, it still just grates my ears. Another thing I won't miss is not speaking Chinese in a way that in the UK, because we can speak English, we can understand everything, right? And I know we both have some Chinese level and we can get by conversationally, but it's very hard to fully understand everything. Like, say you go to the doctor and you need to know what the doctor's saying to you. That's quite important information, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I won't miss not having to use another language.
Right.
As that may sound like bad, but
No, I
it
mean,
is
it's
what it
completely
is.
understandable. And that is especially highlighted when you go somewhere like the doctors or the dentist, or you've been told information that's pretty important. You know, you want to know what it is. And even when there's somebody like who can speak really good English and Chinese there, it's even hard for them to translate those kinds of things because it's the jargon of that particular area, right? So sometimes you come out of the doctors and you have no idea what's actually wrong with you.
You're left with more questions.
Yeah.
Am I gonna die?
Then you do a quick Google search and find out that you are in fact going to die.
Yeah.
One thing I definitely won't miss, and this has really been highlighted since the COVID situation has come about, is just the difficulty of living here as a foreigner. You know, because China did so well at sort of containing COVID-19. You know, a lot of the cases that have come in over the past year or so have been either foreigners or Chinese people coming home from abroad. There's been a bit of a feeling towards foreigners here that, you know, they are much more likely to have COVID than another Chinese person. So it's been, you know, come across a lot of difficulties, you know, whether it's traveling or even just in and around Shenzhen over the past 2 years, that you just have to really take on the chin. And we've heard people loud and clear in the comments that this kind of animosity towards foreigners in a country is normal everywhere in the world. It happens everywhere, but that doesn't excuse it. That doesn't make it okay.
Yeah, just because it happens doesn't mean you can't feel bad about it, right?
Right.
And we actually just had that situation when we went to the mall. We had our green health codes, which he checked everybody else's green health codes, but then when he saw us, he asked to see our travel code.
Right.
Which, like, you know, we both said to him, like, oh, this is just because we're foreigners. And it's also the little things, like when I'm walking in the street and normally Chinese people will have their mask down, just living their life, and then when they see me, it's suddenly like this.
Right.
And I think sometimes it's just subconsciously, but it's still like, come on, man, like you don't have to treat me any differently just because
Right.
you may think that I have the virus.
It's strange to, like, when you think of it from both sides, because from their perspective, all they're trying to do is protect themselves, and they might not be aware at all of how difficult it is for foreigners to get to China right now. Like, we did a video about my friend who's just come here like a couple of months ago, and he, you know, went through so many things to get here. You know, there's literally almost 0% chance that he's brought COVID into the country, yet the average person living here might not know that. So, you know, you can kind of excuse it for that, but still, for us, it doesn't feel good, right? And one thing I'm thankful of, there's only one time in the past 2 years that I've been like verbally abused, and like, I mean, we pass hundreds of thousands of people over the past 2 years, and I've never ever been like attacked or verbally abused another time, and I think that's not bad. Right?
That's a good ratio. Yeah. That's good. I've never been verbally attacked or threatened in China. Yeah, so I think in that regards, it's relatively good. I have heard stories though from close friends of foreigners in restaurants and people coming up to them saying, "You need to put your mask on. This is China. You need to." But you're always going to have a couple of bad cookies in the cookie jar.
Right, and they're the ones that get around on social media and stuff, so it creates a sort of a false perception that might happen all the time. But yeah, just to keep it clear, like, the vast majority of people are completely you know, courteous and polite about it and treat you the same. But it's just there are, you know, a few occasions where. Anyway, hopefully that's given you you know, a bit of an idea from two regular British people living in China, you know, what we miss about the UK and what we will miss when we leave China. As I said, we made a video on your channel, so go and check it out down in the description and subscribe whilst you are over there, and we will see you in the next one. For now, take care.